All right, so we are proceeding to the ninth point. So we did discuss in our last session about the Chit Lake. So Chit Lake is where all our thoughts and everything is emerged. So this is the point from where everything descends down, and we know them as thoughts, feelings, emotions, everything begins from here, right? So cleaning, by working on point A and point B, we can actually create a clean chitta lake where everything comes to balance. So heartfulness is all about balance. So here, a true spiritual system, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, should not negate anything in life. It's all inclusive. Spiritual system means it's all inclusive. Life means all inclusive. So any spiritual system which conforms to the natural aspect of life, then it brings balance. Otherwise, we don't want to sway into any extreme, right? So here, the even the inner connection is not extreme, it's all in balance. Anything we take it to the extreme means it is out of balance, correct? So it's balance is the key here. So by through the chitle cleaning, there is a knowledge point and the passion point. So we don't want to let go the passion, but bring it to a balanced state. Even the knowledge to a balanced state, even the consciousness, chit lake, to a balanced state. That's about it. Balance means you have the room to sway this way or that way. Sometimes anger is necessary. We have to show anger. But to remain anger is a problem. That means we are out of balance. If I remain in anger, I'm out of balance. If I'm remain in depression, it's I'm out of balance. Correct? So bring the whole state of being to a balanced state. So that's the whole idea here. Correct? So now we're going into the ninth chakra and we understand what happens when we reach this point here in our journey. So the fundamental difference is like when we are talking about the traditional chakras, they're all along the spinal cord. But along the spinal cord, the energy, the prana is descending. For some reason, our seers thought we could traverse rivers. But imagine, when the river is flowing, let's say, for example, though most of the Indians can relate to this example, when the Ganga is flowing from the Himalayas all the way into the ocean, the river. Imagine taking the river back to the Himalayas. It's an enormous effort. So, what our teachers have done is they created a frontal path so that the journey becomes easy and journey becomes more doable, you can say, correct? So, that's why the frontal path we have is like so, starting from the first point at the heart, this is the first point at the heart, and the second point is right side from the heart, and this is the third point, and the fourth point, and then the fifth point is where our throat is, and this is where from the traditional chakras, the Vishuddhi chakra, and then the sixth you can see here, Agna chakra, and the seventh, eighth, and ninth. It goes like this all the way to the 13th point here at the back. We'll read about it. So the journey goes like this. So once we cross these 5 points, which is known as Pinda or heart region, means the physical state of being. Once we cross this physical state of being,
Mhm.
then we lose, or I should not say lose, we kind of become balanced with the external world, dealings with the external world. So we are able to deal with them in a balanced state. Then the start begins the mind region from the seventh point, and that's when we begin our inner journey. So the reality comes to our glimpse, the Atman, the soul, the condition of the soul. Here, whenever we are talking about something, a soul, we don't want to treat a soul as an entity. We are talking about conditions and state of being. So we are feeling whenever we say we come in contact with the soul, it means we are feeling, experiencing the condition of that state. Okay. So that's how you should read. It's not like we are seeing some soul as an entity, like I see the person in front of me or the computer in front of me. It's nothing like that. It's about experiencing that state. So if I say we are experiencing the state of the divine, doesn't mean we are seeing some God as an entity or a personality or a person. We are experiencing the state of that being. Okay? So now coming to the ninth chakra. So each chakra has certain characteristics. So a ninth is same as similar to, you can just say 9 minus 5 is 4, and 4 is the water point. So the Panchabhutas, the five elements which make up everything, right? So the five elements are earth is the first point, and ether or space is the second point, fire is the third point, water is the fourth point, and fifth is air. Okay, so once we cross this, but everything is a mixture, a combination of this. So ninth point is similar to the water point. Because if 5, right, 4 plus 5 is 9, or 9 minus 5 is 4. So that's easy to remember it like that. So the ninth chakra is also similar to the water point. But as we are moving above into the above points, right, the earth element, when as we go into the mind region, the significance of earth element goes down very much. And that's why we kind of, the air and the space becomes the predominant. So let's read about ninth chakra. Like I said, the prominent element is water. And each chakra is associated with certain color. So this color is when we completely expand into this chakra or master this chakra, this is the color. It comes to the gray color. And the forefinger width from the 10th chakra towards the forehead. And surrender and humility are the qualities of this chakra. And the main feeling is divinity all around. So we start to experience this omniscience of the divine presence at the ninth chakra. And the region is surrender and absolute. Prapanna Prabhu. We'll read about it. So I think, did we read Prabhu about in the eighth chakra? No. So Prapanna Prabhu. We'll start understanding what this means, right? Prabhu translates to Lord. So once, and again, stop me if you have any questions as we are discussing, right? So once an emperor drew a line on the floor with a piece of chalk. Then, looking at his courtiers, he said, if you want to shorten this line, but you can't erase the line or break the floor. So when no one could figure out how to shorten the line, the king's favorite minister stepped in and he took a piece of chalk and drew on a longer line right next to the one the king has drawn. In an instant, the line drawn by the king becomes shorter. Drawing a new line changed the perspective. The sublimation of the ego is similar exercise. If you try to annihilate the ego by force, it doesn't work. So, how do you annihilate? I mean, even the force when you apply, what are you applying? What kind of force are you applying? It is your own ego only. So, you're using the ego to destroy the ego. It doesn't work like that, right? Can you cut the sword with the same sword? Can the sword cut itself? It's not possible. So, same thing, if you want to use the ego to cut the ego, it's not possible. So, here, like I said, everything is in balance. Here, we're not trying to remove the ego because the moment ego is removed, your existence becomes meaningless. That's not what we are trying to do here. It's all about refinement. As we are refining, it becomes more and more sublime. That means it is not drawing you to its negative effects. You're always going in a positive way. That means you understand the balance. I always give this example. Balance means, see, when you learn the bicycle, you're falling, you're out of balance. Once you understood the balance, you can sway the bike this way or this way, like the kids do the acrobats, right? Once they learn the bicycle, that means they tend to go a little bend this way, but they still don't go out of balance. This they still can maintain because they know their balance point. So once you know the balance point, you have some flexibility to swing either way. Okay. So and also as you are become more and more adept at this technique, correct? Then you know exactly how to use your ego. Right now, the ego is driving us. Later, you know how to drive the ego. That's the difference. Okay. So, and I'll also give you another example. I mean, another perspective for this. Okay. But when you change your perspective and look at up to something far grander and magnificent, then the heart is filled with appreciation. It longs to become one with the grander idea, and the ego supports this endeavor. Such a life altering perspective occurs when you enter the ninth chakra. You enter a state where you feel you are born into a new world. So, the ninth chakra is the region where the balance tips between you and source. Up to this point, our life was centered around I and the higher self. The thou was in the periphery. At the ninth chakra, you re-centered around thou, and I dissolves away even from the periphery. After the considerable ascent, that means the I is dissolving means the ego is refining. What is ego? Ego is not the arrogance. I mean, we kind of understand ego as an arrogance, but ego is our self identity. When I say I, what is that I am referring to? That is ego. So, ego is my identity. Slowly, this identity now identifying itself with the higher, with thou, because now it is more and it's at the most refined state. At this refined state, it can only identify with the higher essence. So, this whole meditation practice is to create that identity. I am with this higher essence. See, this higher essence is never devoid of me. Okay. But through my identities, which I have created all along, before birth and after birth, we have created so many identities, and all these identities are now dissolving. Okay. So, as these identities are dissolving, the only identity which remains is the higher. So, your heart knows. So, the feeling so near and yet so far, which is constant complaint until now, is gone. Your heart knows that you are in the presence of the Absolute. So, this is what happens when we reach the ninth chakra. So, we kind of feel that closeness. This is what in Sanskrit upasana means. Upa means to get closer and closer. So, once I feel this nearness to that, see, until this point, the divine essence is up in the heavens. Sorry, Cliff, I didn't see your hand raised. Go ahead. You can speak up. You can interrupt me. That's fine.
Okay. So this is really more of just a temporary state during our meditation. It's not that people actually live there permanently. It's you, since you go through all the points, more or less, this is just something that you would be there for a while, for a period, a short period, and then move on. Is that correct?
That happens during the meditation as we are progressing. So when I become part of the ninth point, it's sort of you can feel that as a permanent state. So in meditation, these states come and go because every meditation we are, otherwise the meditation is, I would say pointless if I'm not reaching that higher state in every meditation. So that's why it appears, it feels as if I am in that state while I'm meditating, or if I can maintain the condition of that meditation. But it goes away because now our identity kicks in. Our external identity kicks in. It goes away. But once we reach this point, it sort of feel like it's a permanent state. Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, good point. So this experience leaves such a deep impact on you that an automatic meditative state develops in the heart. You may be running to catch a flight, mowing the lawn, cooking dinner, or even in the middle of an argument. But through all this within you, the meditative state continues undisturbed. Constant remembrance, which until this point was a practice you cultivated, is now as automatic breathing. So, this answers your question, Cliff. So, it's almost like a state of being, the absolute connection with the absolute is established at ninth point. So, it is, really, I would say it's a beginning of a new state, beginning of a new condition. Okay. So, I'll just read this paragraph. But here, and one more thing I kind of want to draw your attention to, right? This also kind of explains explains the idea concept of prayer. So to make the line shorter, I have to draw a bigger line. Correct. So Now, the God being an absolute, God doesn't know my problems versus my success or happiness. God doesn't know. For him, all of them are same. I mean, here we kind of say him or, it or whatever. We kind of create an identity in our mind for God. But God doesn't know problems versus happiness versus success or failures. He doesn't know any of these opposites which we as humans go through. So, as a part of prayer, whatever I submit to Him, so whatever what I'm submitting is a smaller line, we get a bigger line. So now I'm kind of giving you the right technique of the prayer. Okay. Whatever I submit to the Lord comes multifold. So if I give Him my unpeace, what comes back? The bigger unpeace. If I submit my problem, bigger problem comes back. Because whatever you submit to Him comes multifold. Okay. So the way to pray is only to bring this essence and always submit this essence to Him. Then the essence comes back multifold, not the problem. So whenever I want to pray, this remove all your problems, remove all your suffering, remove all your difficulties. Just submit yourself with the divine presence within. And the nature removes anything else around it. And that's the real purpose and real way of praying. Okay. So it's very important for you to understand when we are praying. Even in our heartfulness prayer, we are only recognizing that His essence, reaching that higher is my goal. We're not talking about getting rid of anything. That's why I'm saying a spirituality has to be all inclusive. And what is not required goes away. But I'm always submitting myself this higher to this higher. Not my problems, not my suffering, nothing. Okay. So understand that and practice it also. So I'll stop here. And any questions, comments, then we can get into meditation. All right.